Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica Sofer, and I am thrilled to be here again, sharing some phenomenal tips, strategies, and resources to help you put your business together, make it successful. We talk all things visibility strategy, advertising, public relations, marketing, and all the little things that keep it together, including wellness and all the tips that help us balance it all out. So, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, a traditional brick and mortar business owner, professional, this is definitely the podcast for you because in this episode, we're going to talk about how you can keep it all together. Our guest is phenomenal, guys. So if you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We want to make sure you don't miss any episode. And if you're watching on Facebook, let us know you're watching so we can engage with you. And if you watch the replay, hashtag replay, so we can go back, follow up, answer any questions you might have, and keep you in the conversation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up. Today, our guest is Gina Fontaine. Welcome so much, Gina. So glad to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Veronica. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So we talk on the show, we talk about a lot of technical resources. We talk about a lot of strategy. We even dive into the academics sometimes about balancing everything out, visibility strategy, and we talk wellness because that's what keeps it all together. If you don't have wellness, you're not going to be able to do those other things. And that's why you're here
Absolutely.
today.
Mm-hmm. I tell people health is your greatest wealth. And it's honestly, it's one of your greatest productivity tools in business because as you know, when you don't feel well, you're not as productive. So
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a personal trainer. You've been in the fitness space for years. You've been very
mhm.
successful, and some things kind of happened in your life, and all of a sudden, when I connected with you, you're a book author. You've got a phenomenal business going, and you're helping moms figure it all out. So how did you go from personal trainer to helping moms figure out how they're superheroes?
Yeah, my book details my story. I have 3 children, and they're now all teens and tweens. And if any of you are out there that are parents and have teenagers in particular, there's a whole new set of challenges that we encounter when our kids become teenagers. And then add to that I divorced when my oldest was 13, and it kind of became the perfect storm. And it also became the greatest learning opportunity for me, where I was able to grow as I met a challenge, overcame the challenge. And really, at the root of it all was the realization that I had to practice radical self-care, in the sense that even though, especially as a single mom, my time was squeezed to an even smaller space, I had to be strategic about how was I going to find that time to truly fill myself up. Because something I discovered was, even though I teach fitness and even though I'm always talking about it all day long, I wasn't really doing much to fill myself up. And with that realization, I just kind of said, you know what, I have to not include teaching a yoga class as my self-care, because that's putting my energy out. And in the book, I talk about a lot of the struggles that I went through, especially with my oldest, but and throughout, I mean, I kind of do some backtracking and go back to when they were infants. So it's really a book that's relatable through all stages of parenting. But family is such an important part of our business when things are in disarray. I mean, I pretty much, for the last few years, my divorce happened 4 years ago, but I had to accept the fact that everything was going to be messy for a while. And then the pandemic hit, and that just threw everybody into a state of turmoil. And in the fitness world, I couldn't go to gyms to train anymore. So it was like, okay,
Right.
how do we do this online training format? And how do we teach a class when 3/4 of the class turns their camera off and I can't see what they're doing? So, that was a big change for me. And I started writing the book, and it's not like something that I said, I'm going to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like I just started capturing my thoughts and feelings on a voice recorder, just my phone. Basically, I just
Wow. Right.
recorded while I would walk. And I was, very challenging having kids in teenagers in quarantine
Right.
that desperately need to be with their peers. And I was dealing with a lot with the mental health issues with my son, and I would just take that frustration that I was feeling, and I would record it. And then I came home, I would listen to it, and I just started transcribing my notes. And as I would listen to and read what I had written, I realized, you know what, I bet I'm not the only parent during these challenging times who is really struggling to keep my head above water. And so I kept going and I kept going. And I even shelved the project for a while. And then I picked it back up last fall and winter. And I did a project where it was write 2,000 words a day. And my
Wow.
kids,
Okay.
yeah, my kids helped keep me accountable, because I told them, I really want to keep writing, and they would check in with me. Did you do your writing, Mom? Did you get your 2,000? And that was very motivating for me. And then spring of last year, I had a publisher just kind of do basically a book audit to see, is this something that's worth publishing? And she said 100%, let's get this out there. And then what happened was I actually tore my ligament in my knee.
Oh,
And
wow.
that kind of grounded my physical aspect of my business, as I had to have surgery. And the timing turned out perfect, because I got the first edit of my book after I had surgery, and I had to be, pretty inactive for a period of time anyway. So it all just really worked out. What's been challenging for me is the last 6 months, I've really kind of dropped out of a lot of the training and the exercise teaching. And for the first time in my life, I have truly just put the self-care and the energy into myself. And that's been just a huge awakening
Yeah.
as to how that feels to actually experience the things that I teach my clients and do with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And during the pandemic, especially as people were trying to work from home and maintain a fitness regimen, it plays, and we've had people on the show talk about it, it plays a part into your mental well being. So if all of that is not, complementary to each other, then you're going to find gaps. And I think your book especially is really helpful, as moms have this persona of, everyone's got to be online at the right time. Everyone's got to be in their Zooms. Everyone's got to have snacks at the right time. We got to break for lunch. And then some people are going back to work. Some of our kids are going back to school. Some have decided that they like virtual. And so as a mom, you're trying to keep it all together. And many of us are running businesses on top of it. And it's just really, really overwhelming. And I love that here's an expert who helps people, maintain their physical fitness and now help maintain their self-care regimen. And that's just a great win. And I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. And I realize that as moms, we do have very full lives, and it's not realistic for us to change our clothes, go to the gym, work out for an hour, take a shower. Like, that's a huge investment of time. And so that's why I promote the idea of 1-minute wellness solutions, where you can just, be sitting at your desk and remember, oh yeah, Gina said, sit up tall, take deep breaths, drink water. And that takes 1 minute to adjust your posture, maybe stand up, move around a little bit. But if you think about it, if we're doing that all day long and we have that awareness of, oh, just a 1-minute thing over the course of a day, we might accumulate 60 minutes throughout the day. And the truth is, your body doesn't know the difference between 60 continuous minutes and 1 minute interspersed throughout the day.
No, that's absolutely true. And if we're balancing full-time jobs and side hustles and kids, it's every minute you can get in to help your body is just going to make a world of difference. So I think that that's a great philosophy to have. Tell us a little bit about some of the myths that you've discovered as you've worked through this book, worked through this process, and have had to essentially pivot your business, not just because of the pandemic, but because of what happened to you with your injury.
Yeah, so I'm just going to jump right to number 5. Myth number 5 is kind of the all-encompassing one, that moms do it all. And I hear women say this all the time, like, oh, try as I might to get people to help me. you have to realize that's where you have to surrender control and say, you know what, maybe my 8-year-old kid is old enough to do some laundry, and maybe he'll fold it and it won't be perfect, but that's okay. I talk about, letting go of that perfectionistic thread of my house has to look sparkling clean all the time. I mean, when I became a single mom, I went from mopping the kitchen floors, weekly to, we can get by for a few weeks and being okay with that and knowing that it wasn't going to be harmful for anybody. And, that realization as I let go of whether it's I'm going to let my house just be a little bit more messy, or I'm going to let my son figure this problem out on his own. And my mother, so I'm the youngest of 10 children. And I consider my mother to be one of the wisest moms. And she told me very early on, you just have to let your kiddos fall and don't run to them immediately. And I just, in my mind, I was thinking they fall at the playground and they scratch their knee. And I thought, well, that's not very nice. And what she was saying was so much bigger, that when they're trying something and it looks like they're going to fail, just let them fail. And then also let them start picking up the pieces. And if they're really getting off course, nudge them. And my teenager was, he broke every rule in the book and did everything that you would never want your kid to do. And I had to get to a place where it was like, look, I have 2 other kids and they need my love and attention too. And letting him have those falls, it's heartbreaking, but we have to remember as parents, we're raising adults. And right. the more we coddle them and hold their hand, we're disrupting their progression towards adulthood. So, at this point, I have an 18-year-old who's living on his own and he's doing it. So in that sense, I feel like, okay, Mom, you succeeded, even though it wasn't in the most traditional, perfect fairy tale way that, it's like high school, then college, then degree, then job. He didn't follow that progression. He did school, dropped out, got a GED, got a job, got out on his own. And that's the perfect path for him. And I think that's another challenging thing. And when we say, moms do it all, even dads feel that way, that we have to guide them into the box or situation that we think is best for them. And they're just going to push back and rebel at some point if we don't let them kind of explore. And for me, surrendering control, that's something I have to get up and remind myself every single day. It's not about me fixing, healing, changing my kids. Like if my teenager is having a sad day or a day of just like, I just want to be in my room, I want to be alone, the old me would have said, oh, let's fix that. Let's make you feel happy. Let's do something fun. And they're just kind of like, this is what I need to do, Mom. And because in my profession, it's like, oh, I fix people. I help their bodies get better. And I'm changing my whole approach now, where I'm more like, let's look at what's going right in your health regime. Let's look what's going right in your body, because when we focus on what's well, the stuff that's off balance, it just dissolves. It's amazing. And as I practice that in my own life, I'm blown away that I don't have to focus on the problems. I can focus on the wellness, and I get a feeling of everything's okay in the world. I'm okay and I matter. And that idea of putting my needs first so that I can show up being that radiant beacon of light for my kids, for my clients, for everyone out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find that this time of year, especially you've been in the fitness and wellness space for many, many years, is this time of year the time of year where you really end up seeing some of the patterns of the year and people trying to either get back on course or maybe not on course at all? How does this time of year really impact people? And the reason why I ask is because we are all analyzing what's happened in our businesses over the last year. We're analyzing how our kids have done this first half of this new school year. We're in the middle of a time of reflection. And I feel like people start the new year with new resolutions, new goals. And I'm curious as to what you feel people need to think about to really be successful moving that forward. Because you've seen a lot of things, both with physical health, mental health, and just in your space that you've become an expert in.
Yeah, and try as I might to get people to start focusing on fitness and wellness before January 1st, I haven't found that magic key, even though I have a club for moms called the Supermom Club, and our theme for December is self-care. And again, it's just little tiny practices every day to start your day saying, I matter. Because what I find, and I love that you said the reflection and looking back on the year. And again, and as I look back, I didn't necessarily meet the goals that I set out, but as I look back and say, oh my gosh, you sold your house, you had surgery, you went through 6 months of rehab, and the doctor said she's never seen anybody recover so fast. You published a book, you're launching a new website, you created an online fitness community for moms. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's huge. Those are
Like
some
all
major
that
accomplishments.
those are some major accomplishments. So, those smaller goals of like, oh, well, you wanted to sell this many books and you didn't, and you wanted to, do X, Y, and Z, and you missed the mark. That's where the word compassion comes up, of self-compassion, of saying, okay, well, did I give it my best? And yeah, I can look back and say I gave it my best, and my best is good enough. And to meet that place where maybe I feel like I felt short, and I'm really just learning this and embracing myself, just like if your kid came home, upset because maybe somebody bullied them at school, would you just say, oh, go away, just don't bother me right now? You would say, come here, let's talk about it, or do you want to talk? And starting to do that for myself and saying, you know what, pat yourself on the back, on the heart, and just say, you know what, it's okay that you didn't do this, and this. Look at the bigger picture of what you have accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. And to you, especially having gone through all of those challenges on top of the pandemic and being stuck at home, you were able to find some great new avenues to support people. You mentioned your group, your book, obviously, and then your online fitness business. Tell us a little bit about how you've been able to share all of that. And the reason why I ask is because I have this vision that people in the fitness world are just always at a gym. They're always going from studio to studio, or maybe private client to private client. And there are people that work out of their cars and just carrying gym bags around. But you have a very successful online business. How did that transition? And I'm sure the pandemic taught you lots of lessons, but there are people out there that may want to know how to transition onto an online business.
Right. And for moms, especially, being able to pull out your equipment. I use very minimal equipment. Like I could build a gym for under $100 for somebody.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it there's tools, and you can even use household items to create a home gym. And I find that people are just hesitant to go into the big box gyms, and where they're germy environments. And for moms, and especially business owner moms, the easier you can make it to where you're practically stumbling over your fitness equipment each day and saying, oh yeah, I need to do that, it's easy. I mean, for me, it was easy to just run down in the basement and say, okay, kids, mom's getting online for an hour and I have class, I need it quiet up here. And then I'd finish and I'd go upstairs and maybe start dinner. And I was like, gosh, I love, don't get me wrong, I love being able to touch my clients and be with them in person, but the convenience of being able to meet online. And what I love is that I can just push record, and I can record a private training session with somebody and say, hey, you can you can redo this 2 more times this week, and it's easy, and they love it, that they have that easy accessibility to me. And with my morning, I do a 10-minute morning wake up movement session with my Supermom Club, and I'm recording them, and they're stacked up a month's worth of 10-minute movement
That's
breaks.
awesome.
And they can tap in, they can go in and pull up the app, and I have some women that just do them on their break time at work. And again, I don't use a lot of equipment, so they can literally do it in their office and feel better, and not like, oh, because if you have a 30-minute break or a 15-minute break at work, you don't have time to go out and go to the gym and do it.
Right.
And if you're a mom, you got to go and pick up the kids and do your evening thing. So I've just found that that huge, long investment of time. I came to the discovery that I was training my clients for an hour. I'm never doing that for myself.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
realized, okay, I'm giving, they're getting like the luxury version of my service. And then I started to take snapshots, literally like take pictures of myself through the day. And I realized I'm doing like little 5-minute snippets all day long. And this stuff is teachable, and it's easy. So
absolutely.
I think the keyword is easy. For too long, we've gone by this notion of no pain, no gain. You got to kill it. You got to crush it. And I have been practicing ease in my fitness routine for several years now. This idea of go slow to go fast.
Mm-hmm.
I have my days where I feel like a surge of energy, and I maybe do something more vigorous, but in general, I'm not busting my butt. I'm finding what feels good, because the reality is that when you have a lot of stress and you're in fight or flight a lot, and there's cortisol in your system, you don't need a high intensity interval workout. While it might feel good, it's actually going to rev you up. So something I always start with my clients, I teach them how to breathe. And people are like, Gina, this is so simple. And I'm like, yes, but I know that you will do it, and it will make you instantly feel better. And it's always really shocking for people, especially I had a woman who was a triathlete, and she's like, whoa, this is way too easy, Gina. But I was like, just trust me.
Yeah.
And then she started to realize, oh my gosh, when I run, I've never been breathing properly. And it changes her output in running when she's breathing properly. So,
yeah. No, and
simple things.
I was going to say, and it's the basics that we forget. And that's oftentimes where entrepreneurs and business owners and successful professionals, we lose sight of the basics: sleeping properly, breathing properly, getting enough water. I mean, literally the basics. And so I love when experts come onto the show and just remind us of how important that is, because you can't be successful in the other parts of your business if you're not taking care of yourself. And so I literally loved everything you just said, because it's so true, especially about taking the breaks. Gina, you mentioned your group. Tell us a little bit about your group. And then I want to ask you about your quiz, because that was like hey, oh my gosh, I love this quiz. This is amazing. And everyone should take it. So before we get there, tell us a little bit about your group first.
Yeah, so the Supermom Club, is an offshoot of my book, which is You Are a Supermom. And to me, the supermom is that woman that actually has learned doing less is more. Yeah. And, I think a lot of people think, oh, supermom, she's like always there to save the day. And much the opposite. We are learning to slow down. We are learning to carve out time for ourselves each and every day, and shift our mindset to a place of I matter, and I'm putting myself first. And so part of that is that 10-minute morning break that we wake up from Mountain Time, 6:30 to 6:40 in the morning. And I have people that are just there every single day, or they catch the replays. And then once a week, I do a 1 hour where we meet and can see each other on Zoom. And then I have a guest expert come in, and like this month, we're talking about new moon or the moon and your self-care, and how your moon sign kind of determines what the best self-care protocol is for you.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And the idea behind the quiz and or knowing your moon sign, like I'm a Pisces and water, like when I discovered like the reason I love going into hot tubs and hot springs and swimming and paddleboarding is because that's what nurtures me. Water nurtures me. And that was, but for another person, they might be like, oh, I don't like getting wet. I don't like the water. And so let's find what works for you. And that was sort of the motivation behind creating the quiz. And Amy Lee was on here. She helped me construct this whole quiz and having archetypes where we discover what are our strengths, what are our areas of challenge as moms, where I like to call them areas of growth. And so I have 5 archetypes. There's the goddess, the visionary, the activist. There's 5 of them, and then you take the quiz, and then you immediately see, okay, I'm the queen, and that means I like to be the leader. I like to be in charge. And I've even created a movement resource guide for each archetype. So the queen is going, in that movement resource guide for the queen archetype, we're working on posture. We're working on standing tall, because if you're a leader and you're standing in front of crowds, you need to have a strong presence. And so my hope is that movement resource guide will resonate with the mom and her type. So, but I feel like the more self-aware you are, that will help you say, you know what, that's out of my wheelhouse. I don't have to focus on that, because again, it goes back to that mom does it all myth. It's saying, these are my strengths and this is where I jam, and maybe some other archetypes can come in and fill the spaces where I'm not as strong or qualified.
Yeah, no, I love that. And just so you know, you may not be surprised, but when I took the quiz, I got queen as well. So when you said that, I thought I should sit up just a little bit taller. So I will definitely start implementing that as well. So I know we're getting close to time, and I want to be respectful of your time, but I want people to know how they can work with you. I know you work with entrepreneurs especially, but I know you work with other folks. Tell us a little bit about how people can tap into your expertise. Obviously, you've got a successful fitness business, online business, and now book. But what I love most is that you find a way to help everyone manage that self-care that's going to really be an investment in themselves, their families, and ultimately their business, because that's what we want to help them promote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're a mother, the easiest way to jump in a free resource is my Mom's Thrive Tribe group on Facebook. And then the Supermom Club is very affordable right now. It's $27 a month to join. And then, I have my new website that's actually being launched this week. And that under the resources tab, there's, you can look how to work with me. You can look at some different resources that I have. And I have something called the Movement Magic Design Intensive. And that's basically where I do some movement evaluations and kind of a survey of what do you like, what don't you like, and design a program that, a wellness program that is easy for you to implement, and that can literally be done in about 90 minutes in a 90-minute session together.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. And this is the time of year. Everyone's ready to get in shape, get mentally prepared. They've got their goals set out for the next quarter. So this is the perfect time to tap into Gina Fontaine's resources. It has been such an honor to have you on. I love everything you said, because I know that people are going to find value in this. So thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Thank you, Veronica.
All right, guys, go check out her website. It is definitely in the show notes. I ordered this book on Amazon, got it in the next day or two, and literally sat down and read it within a day and a half. And it was fantastic. So much so that I put little tabs in it, and then I ran out of Post-its that were of the same color. And if you know me, you know that that's not okay, because I don't like different colors in my books. But that just goes to show you I was able to use so many Post-it notes in this book because the tips I learned were fantastic, and I didn't want to miss a thing. So I highly encourage you to get this book for yourself or for someone you love. and tap into Gina's resources because you're worth it. Your business is worth it. And if you're putting together a strong visibility strategy, you're going to want to be at your best because you're going to be doing interviews on television. You're going to be granting interviews to newspaper reporters. You're going to appear on podcasts and video shows. And so you want to be at your best. So thank you so much to Gina. I hope everyone had enjoyed the content we provided today. Make sure you let us know your thoughts if you're watching the replay on Facebook, #replay. And if you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe because we don't want you to miss any episodes. And with that, I am sending you lots of positive energy and light.